Well, hello, house guests, and welcome back to the House of Chatter. Today, we'll be looking at Judge Liman and his feelings about Blake Lively. I have an interesting theory about this, and you may not agree with me, and actually, no one will agree with me on this one. I believe that Judge Liman secretly hates Blake Lively, and he is part of a Hollywood conspiracy, just like Blake Lively cites. So, hear me out. We all know that the Wayfair team were gearing up to sue Blake Lively over her antics and taking over the film and her threats. They were actually going for civil extortion, right? They were already thinking about lawyers, right? Steve Sarowitz was already prepared to pay and to, bury her, right? She's right about that. We all kind of want her buried, but she's self-burying herself at this point. So we're just all standing around watching her drown, basically. And for the life of me, she just needs a new PR person or someone to tell her just to lie low, because it has been day after day after day of just fuel on this fire. But anyway, getting back to my thoughts about Judge Liman hating Blake Lively. So I know it appears that Judge Liman is favoring Blake Lively in a lot of the rulings. There's no question about that. There's no question about the judge treating the Wayfair side just harshly and cutting them off and almost rude, but then giving the other side more grace and some more assistance and the benefit of the doubt, right? Within limits, right? They didn't get access to the phones, with, again, limits, not very much, but limits. So someone asked me, a fellow house guest asked me to look into the corruption of the clerk. Well, the clerk has been a clerk since probably a year or two before this case started. He was actually replacing another clerk who was arrested on bribery charges and corruption charges for recommending people who broke the law to a defense attorney. He was recommending them out of the clerk's office and getting a kickback, basically, right? So this is a fairly new clerk compared to the last one. As far as corruption, it's New York City. All we have to do is look at the Mayor Adams case and all that, including how the U.S. government got involved in that. So I have no doubts that there is some form of corruption, but I don't really necessarily think it's in this case. Number one, because it's so highlighted. Like, there's all eyes on this judge. Everybody is a sleuth. Everybody's investigating everybody's background. We're doing, 9 degrees of Kevin Bacon and seeing connections and all that. I don't think it'd be in this case. What I think it's the opposite. So hear me out when I get to that. So if Blake Lively has been doing this, I want to take over movie sets and have more authorship for years, like some recent interviews on YouTube have popped up, then she has been doing this for years. And if we have rumors of Ryan Reynolds doing the same thing for years, there's a pattern, right? There's also a pattern of them lying in court and using the court to harass other people. Case in point, the photographer that was in Canada who supposedly ran over Ryan Reynolds, turns out it was a total lie, but they used the court system to totally destroy him, and he lost everything. Okay? So this is where I come back to that Hollywood conspiracy. If we all know this is going on in Hollywood, And we don't want the repercussions of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds because clearly they have no bounds anywhere, right? Then wouldn't you want a way or want an opportunity to just, I don't know, take advantage and take them out? Kind of like what Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds did to Wayfair. What if there was whispers going on that Wayfair wanted to sue Blake Lively, right, for civil extortion, possibly Ryan Reynolds for defamation or civil extortion too, because didn't they have marketing contracts, or the morality clause? What happens to that? Isn't there some repercussion for bad mouthing your own employer or your own person who you're contracted against? So if we're all sick of, Ryan and Blake and their antics, and someone saw an opportunity as far as going after them in court, and there's somehow a connection between Hollywood and the court, maybe it's the other way around. Maybe Hollywood is secretly against Blake, and they're using the judge to be overly nice to set her up, right? Because if Blake loses, she's going to have to pay all of that money. And they're out of money because sounds like they're tied up in multiple lawsuits. So then you're going to pay what? Hundreds of millions of dollars more for an appeal or however much this costs. Right? So you're slowly bankrupting them, just like they're trying to do to the other side. Right? But if Wayfair loses, they could probably easily win an appeal. And then everything is done and the tables are turned. Because couldn't they win an appeal on the perception of bias, especially with Perez Hilton clearly highlighting that in his filings? It's like the perfect opportunity. Watch them go broke at their own expense, at their own reputations. Because now look what's happening. Suddenly, Ryan Reynolds is on ads at the Toronto Film Festival. I haven't seen him in printed ads with kids before, but it's a good look. Blake Lively doesn't have production on her new film for like another 2 years. Kind of like what L'Oreal did to Amber Heard and put her in a hold situation because of the Johnny Depp trial. And they're using Q scores and judging by social media on whether or not to use her or not. So that's what the predicament that they're in now. It's the perfect predicament for Hollywood to take advantage of them and give them their own taste of their medicine. So what do you think? Let me know your thoughts and comments on this one. All right, house guests, have a great day.